out the top 10 is John Nemechek. Give us a preview of what to look for in today's Xfinity race.
Well, there is no Xfinity Series race today. They're off this weekend until they get back to Texas next week.
I'm so stupid. Well, give me a rundown of what's going on in Xfinity anyway. See, my mind is all caught up in basketball. For some reason, I thought we had an Xfinity race and a truck race today at Martinsville. See, NASCAR is messing with my brain. They're jacking stuff all up. Need to go back to the way they did before and then have races on different days and at the same track. I digress. Go ahead.
Well, Cole Custer last week in California went to victory lane, his first time career this season. For those guys, that's a step in the right direction. And in the past, he's been he's been on the cusp of going and winning a championship. Had it not been for the fact that he wasn't entered in the Homestead as a championship contender a couple of years ago, but I think as far as the running right now, Cole Custer locking himself at least into the playoffs right now. I think in the next couple of weeks we're going to probably see some shuffling of some other drivers out there. Really, again, I'm just kind of impressed with the fact, I think I said it before, of Ryan Sieg, a driver that we've never talked about. I mean, we rarely ever talk about him. We always consider him one of those mid-tier to back-marker teams that we just honestly don't talk about. But he left Daytona, he went out to the West Coast, Atlanta, West Coast, and all through there. And he right now, I mean, he's got an average finish just inside the top 10. He's been inside the top 10 pretty much every single week except for 2 out of the 5 weeks that they've ran, and those were 11th-place finishes. So, that team, I continuously am impressed with them, their changes that they've made over the winter. And at this point, I think even if he doesn't win a race this year, I think he's going to be a very strong contender, at least trying to knock somebody else or be right there on that cusp of that playoff going into later this year. But, yeah, I just kind of continuously am impressed with him right now and the changes that team has made.
Well, I do know there's a race in the Monster Energy Series Cup race at Martinsville. They are competing for the big grandfather clock. I do understand that, and I know we're there. So Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamilton, Brad Keselowski, Eric Almirola, Martin Truex, Kyle Larson, Kurt Busch, and Ryan Blaney round out your top 10 as they go into Martinsville.
Well, Ford over the last about 2 years or so, it's changed over to Ford. And prior to that, it was a lot of Chevrolet we've seen out there. We saw Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson. We talked about Dale Earnhardt Jr., who won out there. But it was just kind of like Chevrolet. Every time that we go there, it was Chevrolet, Chevrolet, and Chevrolet. But 3 out of the last 4 times that we've been there, Ford has captured a win there. Joe Logano and Clint Bowyer last year. Clint Bowyer is already on top of the board again today as far as this practice here in the morning. I would look at somebody like those guys. I think, you go back a year ago and Clint Bowyer, everybody knows the emotional win that he got there, and his boy Cash was running down the front stretch, when he was getting out the car, and I think everybody kind of remembers that. But beyond that, that was kind of the spark for the year for those guys. I think this is again, it's an opportunity for him. I think Clint Bowyer needs another good run. I think this is a place that's going to work to his favor. But don't count out again Joey Logano at all. And really, honestly, I would say that even though that Jimmy Johnson didn't win all last year, Jimmy Johnson has how many wins out there? I think 7 or 8 wins, something like that, at Martinsville Speedway. So even though that they haven't been the best team, it's the best team at all over the last 12, 18 months or so, something like that. Didn't win last year. You got to watch Jimmy Johnson. He's going to continue to be a threat at places like Martinsville and Dover and places like that. They continue to be his strong tracks. and even though that, again, he hasn't had the best career in the last 12, 18 months or so, those continue to be very strong tracks for him. But, if you have to look at somebody outside of those top drivers right now of Logano and Harvick and Kyle Busch and things like that, I would look at definitely at Jimmy Johnson like that. And Hendrick is a team right now that, they've not been to victory lane in recent memory. So, again, they're another team that's trying to capture some spark that they've lost over the last year or so. And granted, they have a very young team with Alex Bowman, William Byron over there, Chase Elliott. Jimmy Johnson is the veteran over there with the veteran status, with all the knowledge. I think that they need some wins, and they need to kind of change it around. And I think Jimmy Johnson could be the driver that does it, especially at a place like Martinsville.
Talk a little bit about what we know to be a lug nut fine, if you will. So Denny Hamlin's crew chief gets a fine for the nut. What are we doing here?
Well, this is something that it continues to be an issue. Like that's a coming loose. It's really overall, it's not in the grand scheme of things. It isn't something that's going to ruin somebody's day, unless the fact of multiple lug nuts are loose on a vehicle. Joe Gibbs Racing has been tagged for this. I mean, we kind of see that, Joe Gibbs Racing has been tagged for multiple different violations for various different things coming out of the car, but no lug nuts and things like that. But as far as Denny Hamlin, it's not really going to ruin his day. It's not going to ruin their year at this point, especially after capturing Daytona 500 win.
Well, let's, just some final thoughts here. Martinsville, as you mentioned, known short track, known for some bumping and rubbing and just some good old-fashioned racing. But it's also a place where people begin to express their frustration, begin to play the get-back game from other races. Are we going to see a lot of high tension this weekend at Martinsville? Are we going to see the beginning of a lot of get-you-back type racing there at Martinsville?
Well, yeah, I think it's indicative of a place like Martinsville. It's just a place that these drivers, they've been out for 3, 4, 5 weeks already on the road. They've been at tracks where, it's not exactly appropriate to go and try and get somebody back. Martinsville is just kind of that track that, you can go and run into somebody and ruin their day, but not really do any kind of damage to either them or their car. And I think it's just indicative of the fact that we've seen this over the years. We saw Kenseth and Logano do this. We saw Hamlin and Elliott go after it on pit road after a race. It's just one of those tracks that it's so reminiscent of the fact of short track Saturday night racing or Friday night racing, and these are just, the tempers are going to flare. 500 laps around a place like Martinsville, there's nowhere to go. You have no opportunity to get away from another driver or another car, and especially if you've got somebody that's angry at you, you just really have nowhere to go. So it's just indicative of the fact. I think that we, as in the past, we will continue to see these events come up. NASCAR wants these drivers to show emotion. They want these drivers to show, that type of hard knuckle racing that has been accompanied at places like Martinsville, Bristol, and Richmond over the years. And it's just, again, it's short track season, and by the time you get through some of these races, you're going to be angry at somebody. It's just a fact, and I think we will see it at some point in the race tomorrow. We will probably see it in the race today. There's no doubt in my mind who that's going to be. We don't know, but it always makes for a good storyline when somebody does go out there and expresses their frustration and their anger at another driver, and they go out there and bump and grind and put the chrome horn to somebody and spin them around, and it's just good old short track racing.
Well, and that's one of the reasons that we love NASCAR. And certainly there in Martinsville has one of the most coveted trophies in NASCAR, and that is a good old-fashioned grandfather clock that is a trophy that all drivers would like to have, and many drivers have multiple clocks. But who gets the clock this weekend?
Oh. Right now Clint Boyer seems to be very fast. I'm gonna say let's go with Clint Boyer for winning, and the dark horse we're gonna go with Jimmy Johnson, going back to victory lane.
Well, Jimmy Johnson needs some wins, and we have seen him struggle over the last couple of years. I know he's still at it, and we believe he's still got some gas in the tank, no pun intended. So I'll go along with those lines, if you will. Steve Wilson from Speedway Digest has joined to talk with us a little bit about NASCAR in short track, and any final words of wisdom that you have for us going into this weekend in Martinsville.
Watch the race. It's going to be fun, beating and banging. And if you like short track racing, and we need more of it, watch it. And if you can, go buy a ticket and actually go and watch it up close.
Absolutely. That's the best way to do it. And I love going to NASCAR and Indy Car for that matter. If you can at all, definitely go to the races. It's March Madness weekend. Any thoughts on who do you got for your Final Four and your championship?
Oh Lord, I'm gonna pick Duke to go at it, and for the Final Four, I'm gonna pick Duke. Let's just throw Florida State in there because I'm just gonna think they're gonna do it. Let's see who else. Maybe UNC and Kentucky.
Not a bad pick. A lot of people, I think, would want to see that Duke and UNC matchup. I think you're forgetting about somebody who I believe is going to be the champion. I hope so. If they lose, it's going to bust a couple of my brackets all the heck. But they're right there in your backyard. Virginia, duh. The Cavaliers, duh. They're going to win the championship. How could you totally exclude them? Do you have some hard feelings from last year?
Well, it's kind of like this. You live in Virginia all your life. You grow up in Virginia. Everybody goes to Virginia Tech or UVA, and everybody tells you got to pick a side. It's like in North Carolina, you got to pick a side. UNC, Duke, somebody down there. I think it's just indicative, and I just grew up with a lot of people around here saying, "Oh, you got to like Virginia. Oh, you got to like Virginia Tech." No, I like Florida State just because I don't like either one of them, and I'm tired of hearing about them. So. As far as Virginia, good luck to them, but, I won't have any hard feelings or feel sad if they're knocked out.
All right, buddy. All right, you have yourself a good weekend. We'll talk with you soon.
Okay, you take care. Talk soon.
All right. Steve Wilson, our official NASCAR contributor, chiming in on some March Madness there at the end. He lives in Virginia, and I tell you what, I've got them in one of the balanced bracket, one that I'm dominating in right now. I am the current leader. Of course, that can all change here in a few hours, but Virginia remains intact. We're going to be talking more March Madness with Mo from the BS Sports Show, and we're going to break down the brackets and today's games and the action. It's March Madness, and we're going to keep the madness going right here on the Balance Radio Network. We'll be right back.
Tonight, I just want to take you away. Blow your hands up in the sky. Let's set this party alright. Players, put your pinky rings up to the moon. Girls, what y'all trying to do?
Air National Guard is a reserve component of the United States Air Force and serves alongside active duty Air Force members in times of a national crisis. In addition, the Air Guard serves the state and local community in a wide range of capacities,